Okay everyone, this is part 4 of IM3 Unit 1 review. Here we go. So on this graph, guys, notice we have what I call a power function there. It's 3 to the x minus 1 power. Okay, so how are we going to graph this one again? Well, as I always try to teach you guys, we're going to make a table, right? And what values do we put in the table? Well, we will look right where the x expression is right there, and we ask ourselves, what minus 1 would make it 0? 1 minus 1 would make it 0. So that's why 1 is going to go in the middle of my table, and then I'm just going to pick a couple numbers smaller and a couple numbers larger. I'm going to keep those numbers in order, right? It's always a good habit to keep those numbers in order. And now it's a matter of just plugging those values in. Now to save a little time, guys, I went ahead and used my calculator to do all 5 of those points. And here they are. So if you look, guys, right there, follow the red, I plugged in -1 into the expression. And my answer is basically -1.9. I'm going to do a little rounding off there. Okay? So again, all I did right there is I plugged in my -1. I got -1.9. Now I'm going to plug in the 0, and from there I'm going to plug in the 1, 2, and the 3 as well. So here we go. As you can see, when I plug in 0, I get -1.7. When I plug in the 1, I get -1. When I plug in the 2, I get +1. So let's update our table here. So -1.7, -1, and +1. And then finally, all I have left is a 3. And as you can see right here, I plugged the 3 into my expression and I got a 7. So when x is 3, my result is 7. So 3 is 7. Now it's just a matter of plotting the points. -1 is -1.9. 0 is -1.7. 1 is -1. 2 is +1. And 3 is +7 way up here. Now guys, as you follow the dots, you'll notice it basically goes up like this. And this is what a typical power function, as I like to call it, looks like. Okay? As a matter of fact, it's going to level off down here like so, and it looks like -2 right here is going to be what we call our asymptote. Okay? But basically, guys, that's how you do any graph. If you learn to make a table well, like I've been trying to teach you, you should be able to recognize and be able to do pretty much any graph. Okay, so you may want to pause the video. Alright, now, here's a different total function. Hopefully, guys, you recognize the absolute value function here, right? And so, how are we going to do this one? Well, it should sound familiar. We're going to make a table. Now I'm going to do all my work over here, guys, and I'm going to end up erasing it as well. Alright, but anyways, this is absolute value, but I'm just going to look right inside my absolute value right there and ask myself what x value would make it 0, and that would be -2. So -2 is going to go in the middle of my table. Again, I'm going to pick a couple numbers bigger and smaller than -2. Again, I'm going to do 5 points. That should be enough to get my graph. So I'm just going to plug them in one at a time. So here we go. I'm going to first plug in the -4 right there. And I'm going to end up with negative absolute value, -4 plus 2 minus 1. Now -4 plus 2, guys, is -2. And the absolute value of -2 is +2. Now notice the extra negative out here. So that's going to kick in and give me a -2 minus 1 is -3. So pause the video if you need to see my work, because I'm going to erase it. Alright, so now we're going to plug in the -3. So when I plug in -3 there, guys, I'm going to get negative absolute value, -3 plus 2 minus 1. Now inside my absolute value, -3 plus 2 is -1. But the absolute value makes that +1. Again, that negative in front kicks in. So -1 minus 1 is -2. Again, pause the video if you need to see that. Hopefully that's legible to you. Okay, now I'm going to plug in the -2. Now that one's going to work out really nice, right? Because after all, when I plug in -2, I'm going to have the negative of a 0, right? Minus 1. So 0 minus 1 is -1. Now I'm going to plug in the -1 in there. And I'm going to get negative absolute value, -1 plus 2, close absolute value, minus 1. Now -1 plus 2 is 1. Again, the absolute value, there's a negative in front here. So I'm going to get a 1, but the negative is going to kick in. -1 minus 1, guys. -1 minus 1 is -2. Pause the video if you need to. Finally, I'm going to plug in my last value, which is 0. So I'm going to plug in a 0 right there, guys. And I'm going to have the negative absolute value of 0 plus 2 minus 1. Now 0 plus 2 is 2. The absolute value of 2 is 2. But the negative makes it -2 once again. Minus the 1 right there. I'm going to end up with -3. So again, hopefully you can see all my work in writing. Pause the video if you need to study it. So guys, now it's just a matter of graphing. And so I'm just going to plot in right here -4, -3, like so. Then -3, -2, like so. Then -2, -1. And then -1, -2. And finally 0, -3. If you follow the dots, guys, notice you get a V shape. Okay? And that's what an absolute value looks like. It always has a shape of a V. Because of the negative, notice it's opening down. If we had a function that said positive square root of x, then it would open up. Okay, so positive is always opening up, negative is always opening down. So again, hopefully these videos help you guys. Till next time, bye.